You are now listening to Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, the voice for the people. Join Richie alongside co-host property damage attorney Hans Kennon as they bring light to the taboo world of big insurance companies, exposing their tactics and fighting for justice. Hear stories from contractors across the state. Contractor Talk, here to protect homeowners and uncover the truth.
All right. Welcome to the show, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, live every Monday night, 7 p.m. here, 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial, sponsored by the Restoration Association of Florida. You can check us out online at www.raflorida.org. We are a nonprofit association by contractors for contractors, helping out contractors and consumers alike here in the state of Florida. Keep up with what's going on in our ever-changing industry that we like to call home, but it's good for us as we have guests every week and we discuss challenges that are going on. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell can be found on many different formats. After we have the live radio show tonight, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. every Monday night, about Wednesday or Thursday, and a few business days after the live show. Then we're on Spotify. We're streaming on Spotify, iTunes, and other streaming sites that you can find us, which I think is pretty much everyone. I've asked, and I've heard of some ones I've never heard of before, but Spotify and iTunes are the biggest ones. And then, of course, we are on, not only do we have a face for radio, but we also have a face for video, apparently. And Hans Kennon here every Monday, and every show, he has the Dapper Suit of the Week that you must check out. There we've got the zoom in here that'll be post-produced there we go, and to where you'll never find the same outfit going on in Hans Kennon closet over here. So it's just it's endless supply of suit tops and under jackets. Maybe vests will have to come out sometime with.
Well, the waistcoat, as it was formerly known, yes.
Oh, I've never heard of that one. That's good. You could bring it out. Is that an English thing?
It is. Is
it next to the water closet?
Your haberdasher would know that.
I would never know that. But Hans, what's going on, man? Lately, I would say you're pretty busy now with the start of your new law firm.
Yes.
And it's still new, right? It still has a new car smell on it.
Yeah. It still is. We're about 15, 16 months in now. It's all going well. Continue to bring in more and more referral sources, more and more clients. And it was interesting when I was at the former firm, they only wanted me to grow so much because they said, well, if you get too much work and you can't do it, then then will you hire me someone to help me? They said no. I said, well, then why do I want to go get more work, more than I can can handle? And so now I'm allowed to do that.
There you go.
We've been going out and seeing a lot of people and doing a lot of marketing and bringing a lot of people in. And you and I have done some stuff together. That's, I think, going to work out very well.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Absolutely.
Good, man.
And for the folks listening, I give out a website for finding us here. We are sponsored by the Restoration Association of Florida. And with that, you can check out our membership. You can be part of us if you're a trade professional, such as an electrician, a roofer, landscaping, any professional
specialist.
Trade. There we go. All right, like our guest tonight. But if you're interested, check us out there. But Hans, I know you've told the listening audience many times is get out your cell phone and make sure you put lawyer in the contacts, because you never know when you're going to need a lawyer, attorney, whatever, however you want to call it, just in case of an incident, an accident, or dispute against your insurance. Because we talk about property here, but if somebody's in an auto incident or some other dispute with any type of lines of insurance, you're there to help, right?
Yep, it's all insurance. At the end of the day, that's why they got their names on the top of the big buildings. Whether it's auto insurance, automobile, personal injury, slip and fall, everything goes back to insurance. I always think it's interesting that when you read a newspaper, if you think about every article and insurance, somehow insurance plays into almost everything you read.
Right.
That's true.
It is. It really is. And yet the reason why we're here discussing it, like the male version of The View, to talk about the incompetencies of our Florida insurers here in the state of Florida, how they get in a panic and create this false narrative in the media that they're going broke as they're overpaying their subsidiaries millions and billions of dollars collectively to stay within their only 5% of profit allowment for an insurance company in the state of Florida. So most people don't know that when first off, you only need $15 million to start an insurance company in the state of Florida. And that's very undervalued if you're going to start issuing a bunch of policies and then have a major storm hit to be able to have enough assets to do that. So, but we've looked at legislation there has been proposed legislation to raise that to 30 million or 50 million, to where you ensure that these folks that are guaranteeing to pay out claims in the state of Florida, which is highly exposed by wind, in which we need more competition in the state of Florida to keep driving costs down. But what really drives me crazy is that what we've seen after all of this, I need to get my way, and giving $100 million to our bought and paid for governor. I voted for him twice. I even said this beforehand. And I blame myself for that, for not thinking he was going to get bought out by the big insurance game. But he was given $100 million to run for president. In exchange, he gave the insurance lobby everything and the kitchen sink.
And even Donald Trump complained about the bill.
Oh, he did. It was something that was not helpful for the state of Florida. And then again, the Trump campaign called out Governor DeSantis for having control over the previous Senate president, Pasadomo. She was the Rules Committee president or committee head, and she wasn't going to allow any insurance bill to go through. So why bother? She's at the end.
When you say any insurance bill, any bill that would benefit the consumer.
Correct.
Right.
Where anything would have the two words premium and reduction next to each other. That still never existed off of all of those major law changes. And so that's what the goal was supposed to be. Let's call these special sessions. We're going to do something about the insurance market. We're going to make the premiums go down. And then they never made the premiums go down. As a matter of fact, they then protected the insurance lobby by saying, well, it will go down once the effects of the law change start to kick in. We need at least 18 months, because we come back a year later and we need more. We need another year. And it's just delaying the time factor, putting it off for another year, when really what we saw with Hurricane Helene and from Milton is that more than 50% of all the claims filed were denied by 14 insurance companies. And it was an article that was put out in the paper. When you think you're in good hands and you think you have a good neighbor, you find out you're not. Citizens was number 15 at the very, very top, at 77% declination rate of both storms. So you find out what happens, right? You mess around and you find out what happens whenever you give them everything they want. And then you have two storms back to back, boom, boom. And then you find out that, it's lawless now. They took away all the actions that a consumer had against an insurance company for slow walking them or denying them or no paying them. And as we've said it before, they took away their rights for attorney's fees. So at their worst day, they're paying what they should have paid in the beginning. Right. So for them, it's really not. I mean, they can push it off for 2 or 3 years.
No, they definitely can. And one thing was interesting about, we talked about the study that was discovered back in November, is basically the insurers had basically like trash bags full of money. Now, Florida statute says they cannot make more than 5% profit, or else they have to literally reduce their rates because they're making too much.
Right.
So what happened was the legislature made sure, though, that there's no legislation that prevents an insurer from hiring a wholly owned subsidiary for whatever price it wants to pay in order to shuffle all those bags of cash out to a subsidiary.
Basically like administrative work, right?
Right. That's ordering policies, running a call center, all the ministerial administrative functions. They could pay whatever they want because those subsidiaries who are not insurance companies have no limit on how much they can make, even though the money goes back to home office.
Right. Isn't that wild?
Yes.
And then to find out that during a major storm, that some of them were like, oops, we overpaid too much to our subsidiary, so they claw some of that money back so they can pay out more claims. And so it's just a nightmare. And then when folks are looking to get their financial records, you can't get them. Right, it's like all of a sudden it's protected and we can't give it to you.
Oh, and now it's a trade secret. Now
there it is.
But initially, what they wanted to say when this legislation passed, that said, you, Mr. Insurer, have to tell the legislature and arguably the public how much you make, how much you spend, how much you pay for anything and everything. And then they put that off for another year. The OAR director said, no, the statute meant one more year. Then he left in the interim. but gave them
Right.
2 years. And now I believe are we in year 3 or 4? And I haven't seen any records yet.
Right. Still no records. And they still haven't imposed their own law that they put on the books. And we asked Senator Boyd that after Senate Bill 76 came out in 2021. And so we still haven't seen the records. And that brings me to the next point, is that Senate Bill 76 in 2021, sponsored by Senator Boyd, who owns insurance companies and the head of banking and insurance. It's not like the fox guarding the hen house at all.
Or anything like
Right?
that.
No, not at all. That's crazy.
Completely.
But he then this bill comes out that includes a bunch of solicitation rules and fines and penalties for roofers, but it also allowed for some roof surface depreciation. And so a lot of that stuff was stricken and wasn't put out the bill. But some insurance companies started, because of all that hype, started putting out some roof surface depreciation policy language, and it was rubber stamped by OIR. How does that happen when statute says that if you have a roof, basically if you have damages, and then Florida Building Code says over 25%, it must be replaced. So if 25% of your roof is damaged by a wind event and your roof is covered, now they're trying to say, well, if your roof is 10 years old on a 20-year life expectancy roof, we're only going to give you 50%. Because and you're like, wait, what? And then there's like, then or they'll decline and be like, oh, it's a lack of maintenance, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what the maintenance plan is for a roof, but you don't get up there and maintain your roof, and so
you don't change your roof's oil or anything like that?
Right. Yeah. I lube it up.
Regular
make sure
maintenance or something?
Yeah, it's great. And so it's so frustrating, because it's like the Florida statute hasn't changed, and an HO3 policy in the state of Florida, you get several things. You get ordinance and law, unless you decline it, and you get RCV coverage, replacement cost value of what it costs today to replace that roofing system. It should not be depreciated. ACV is actual cost value. That is depreciated value of RCV. So what it costs minus the depreciated value. That's what ACV is. And so this it's mind-boggling that how we get screwed again, and that you didn't even know. I didn't even know. Somebody came up to one of my last Restoration Association of Florida meetings in Melbourne just last week and said, hey, did you see what they snuck in at the last minute of our Florida legislative session whenever they extended it for the budget stuff? I said, no, it was a good juicy numbers, whatever did they pass? I don't know. Who knows? State of Florida's super rich right now. What's going on? He's like, no, the roof surface stuff. They just codified it, allowing, basically when we say codified it, they put it in Florida statute that allows insurance companies to put roof surface depreciation language in policies.
Now, when you told me that we were just about to go on the air, and I'm glad I had the 7-second delay, because I was about to get really, really upset about the fact they could slide it in, because the understanding for the special session or the extension of session was for budget items only. Now, is it House Bill 1541?
That's what I saw online with the 10 seconds prior to the show, remembering that I did not research it that heavily.
Because I was getting a little hot under the collar if that had actually slid through. Now, when I went to the Florida Senate website, it says that Bill 1541, which would have allowed all the things you said, on June 16th, remember, even though session ended, things don't just stop that day. They can go on for weeks or even months.
Right.
This says that on June 16th of 2025, in the House, Bill 1541 died in Insurance and Banking Subcommittee, although that committee hadn't met for 6 weeks. Because I got an email the other day. I tracked different bills, and I got an email the other day that said, this bill, the bill.
Yeah, these bills died in
committee, and I'm like, session was over like 6 weeks ago.
Right. Why am I getting these now?
Because I figured out it's because they extended the session. They didn't. It's not a special session, so they just extended the regular session. So the regular session didn't end until they ended the session with approving the budget.
So what we know right now is that it was proposed, but it died.
It died June 16, 2025. Died in Insurance and Banking. Now, it died in Insurance and Banking months ago. But it just sat there because they don't send out those final edicts about died in committee or placed on the table or all those little sayings that they use. So, but yes, so 1541, which would be the roof schedule says, I'll say it one more time, 6/16/25, died in the subcommittee. So I don't believe that did pass. So my need to hire a constitutional lawyer to say that they went outside their their constitutional boundaries perhaps is put aside for the moment.
For the moment,
because the roof schedule. But I'm telling you, he's pointing, we're about to go in the air. I'm like, wait a minute, they're trying to screw us again.
Yeah, I didn't think the Speaker of the House, Danny Perez, would be for that type of bill. Let's just say that. Yeah. And so definite horse trading if that were to be the case. If there was an amendment filed in another bill, I don't know, but we'll check it out. But it being so hot under the collar, one thing we need to do is get some water on that, man.
Absolutely.
And to talk about that is our guest today, Rick Hall with GroundUp. What's going on, man?
Hey, buddy.
Man, it's we get worked up at first, but I had to cover some of the bases. That was important for us to go back and see what was happening during our Florida legislative session, and nothing apparently with insurance moved this year. We were hoping to bring back attorney's fees and many other things we were going for. But we say this is so we can have consumer rights that are, as contractors, only as good as consumer rights. And many different things happen on a property, including trees falling on homes, with all types of things happening that kind of fall in maybe some of the services you provide. But are reimbursable under policies. We talk about that a lot, but this is a great platform for us to kind of highlight service professionals that assist homeowners, consumers from doing what they need to do best, right? Which is keep up their biggest asset, keep up the curb appeal, so to speak, of their biggest asset, their home. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your company, Rick.
Okay, so I actually formed GroundUp back in 1998 as a full-service landscape company. I did a lot of sod and pavers over the years and all that. Oh, nice. But one of my big calls that I get a lot isn't stuff, irrigation stuff, and that's part of the business that I actually enjoyed. So keeping up on people's yards, with landscaping services, it was all part of the package that I had to provide. Yeah. And so we actually started just doing irrigation repairs and maintenance about 5 years ago, full time. So is that primarily what you guys do? Is that your bread and butter?
That's pretty much what we do, and stuff is irrigation repairs. Yes. Yeah. So you went from doing full service. Do you provide those full services anymore? It's sod.
I do not. I actually
no lawn mowing, anything.
No lawn mowing. No trees. No grass. No plants. No mulch. I got out of all of that.
Traded in green for PVC.
Love that.
Yeah, and stuff. So I like problem solving. So each job is a different problem that we have to solve, and so that's kind of where my mind works. And cutting grass and throwing sod, it's just kind of, it was part of the process of getting to where I'm at today. And stuff. But we actually enjoy making water fly. That's what we do best. So
no, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I just want to ask, I had a case about 15, 20 years ago for Tim Morgan, John's brother who passed away recently, and he had mold in his house in a back bedroom. And so he made a claim with his homeowner's insurer, and they came out, and no one could figure it out. And someone said, "What about the sprinklers?"
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So we're not turning the sprinklers. The sprinklers are just beating the crap out of the wall outside the bedroom. Just whatever, how many hours a week are just flying water is going against the thing, and actually leached itself through. And I've never had a chance to talk to an irrigation specialist, and
that happens a lot.
How much, because the way they were adjusted, they were adjusted wrong, because they were banging. They should have been like sprayers, and they were rotors or something. And man, I remember we went out, we were like, look at that, because then at that point it was not really an insurance claim, it was a home maintenance claim. But very few of us get up at 3 a.m. every Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday and walk around, and I hear my pump go on, for my sprinklers, and then I go back to sleep. So I don't know what they're doing out there until you look out and you go, why is that all brown? Right. And then you call. So there you go. So as far as the implication of water hitting your house, just tell me something about that, 'cause I'm fascinated.
The actual way our houses are made now, with wood over stucco and all that kind of stuff, there's an actual space between the ground and the wall. I actually had a client of mine who called and said that she had her front office, she was getting mold up her wall and her floor was buckling. And so she couldn't figure out where it was coming from because they had no plumbing up there, and that was their office. And so their hardwood floor, actual true hardwood floor, was like 7 months old. And so what it was the irrigation, it was the reclaimed water that they had on a riser in front of the office that the long guy or somebody broke off. And that zone runs for 45 minutes, 2 times a week on average. We're dumping hundreds of gallons of water. And it had nowhere to go but inside our house.
Oh gosh.
And we actually get those calls and stuff like that.
So the plumbing was running underneath the slab, and then it had a leak within there, or was it just gushing water out?
No,
and getting underneath it.
They had a head on
when you use the term riser, what does that mean?
A riser is where the sprinkler is permanently out of the ground. Okay. So we usually have a head on a riser in a shrub bush, so it can not only water the shrub but water everything in front of it.
Right.
So when the yard guy came through to trim the bushes, they broke that PVC on the outside of the house.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. And
so it was running with no top.
It was running with no top. So just like a garden hose, if you just set a garden hose in one spot against the house with pressure, it's just hundreds of gallons of water. So she had to redo her floor in her house because they.
Man. And, it's fascinating because you literally have this on the back of your card. It says, do you know what your sprinkler system did this morning?
Yes.
And to your point, that lady and the gentleman did not know what was going on for months.
No,
at least 7 months. They said that's how long the flooring was there. So that was, oh my goodness, and that's a good point. Now with that, I imagine you have a maintenance program, and you recommend how often to check your irrigation system.
So we do have a maintenance program. It is 2 times a year under normal circumstances. If you have a big piece of property and really nice landscape, and then
maybe
we'll do
quarterly.
We do the same thing quarterly. But on an average yard, I recommend 2 times a year. If you have a lawn maintenance service, I always tell my homeowners, you don't need to pay me to come out. Just turn it on. Just go through every month. Just make sure that the lawnmower didn't cut off a head that was stuck up or something like that. Because one of our calls too is, the actual cost of water. Our cost of water is it's crazy.
Yeah. But now whenever you do the maintenance program, say I've got 6 zones, and not a huge property, half acre maybe. So what would something like that cost? Or is it custom per each customer?
It's so on a normal city hookup with 6 zones, you're looking around $300 per year.
Okay, and does it cover any of the minor maintenance stuff, repairs?
That part of the program covers, if I have to adjust anything, but then that also gives you a 10% price discount on anything that we have to do, but it also waives the service call fees. So something coming in between our visits, we actually will waive the service call fee.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, well, stay tuned when we get back with Rick with GroundUp, and he'll give all of his information to you so you'll be able to store it in, reach out to him in case you need to have a maintenance program set up on your home. Check out your irrigation. Check us out, raflorida.org, and we're going to take a break, give some thanks to our sponsors. We'll be right back with our show. All right, and we're back live on 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial, and over to you streaming on Spotify, iTunes, and then over to, I would say in another few days after that, we're on our contractortalkpodcast.com website and our YouTube page. Like us, subscribe us on YouTube. You'll be able to check out the video of every single episode. Over the last, I would say, 5 years, different radio stations or just specifically on streaming, or what was I going to say, podcasts alone outside of radio. Thought that would be cool for a while, and so I can say anything that I want to. I can call anybody anything I want to, which was cool for a while. But then I was like off basis. I was like, oh my gosh, I've got better things to do on this time of day, and I got off a schedule. So here, I'm happy to say I'm back on a regular routine schedule, back on live radio, and it keeps me from cussing, keeps me right in line. Not calling too many people douchebags these days, but at least I have my opinion, backed by great facts, but still my opinion. So, and to keep me clean and out of trouble, our in-house attorney here, Hans Kennon. That was a great segue.
I'm just straight up. I'd like to always say that that Richie is more like, if you watch two guys and they're broadcasting a football game, and one guy is the color guy, one guy's play-by-play. Richie's like the color guy, and I'm more the play-by-play. I'm like, well, he goes, that was outrageous. I'm like, well, it wasn't really outrageous. It was more like, in your opinion, something like that. We try to temper it down a little bit so we don't get sued at all if we can.
That's right, if we can. If we can help it. God knows I've been complained on by through every single governing body, ones that I don't even have a license of. The bar complaint I still hold very high as being a non-practicing attorney.
The unlicensed
not attorney at all. To get a bar complaint was pretty cool, let's say the least. But we were talking about before the break here with Rick Hall, GroundUp, and I think it's important to know that the maintenance program, because I skip the maintenance programs and I go out and I have a gorgeous lawn for at least 4 or 5 months. So you're right about the every 6 months. Then I go out and I start to see like dry spots. And I'm just like, well, I wasn't there before. And then I yell at my my lawn guy and I'm like, you see all the sodweed worms going all over the place? It's your fault that this stuff's getting brown. And then he's like, no, listen, I just treated now. Everything should be fine. You should check your irrigation. And then by the time I get to it, then I find out that the solenoid's broken, and then something else is messed up, and then a head's messed up over here, got chopped off, or a line got chopped, or something electricity-wise that I don't understand what happens. It feeds to the solenoid that I have no idea still what that is or does, but apparently it helps turn things back on and off. So then I get frustrated, and then I have to spend a lot of money or try to figure it out, spending a whole weekend. So that's where you come in.
Absolutely.
So one thing you need to know, I'll tell you as a homeowner, is someone once said, you have a bad valve. And I'm like, where are those?
Right.
And like, nobody knew. At the old house, before we moved, someone said, well, we have to find the valve box. I'm like, I don't know. And then it was like a treasure hunt trying to find the valve box.
Goodness.
No one knew where it was.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
I've seen them go around with like the rods, just poking in the ground everywhere, trying to find something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the old school way. So and stuff. I actually have a valve and wire tracker.
Oh,
so I actually was at a house today. They had a paver porch put on and a paver patio outside and stuff, and they actually laid the pavers over the valve box that I needed to fix.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I was to say I was happy. No.
Well, it's an opportunity for the paving company to create a cool, offset of kind of like a little mini fireplace or like just a mini like little valve cover box, maybe. I don't know for you.
Yeah, I mean, at least tell the property owner. I mean, at least say, hey, if we're gonna do this, then you're gonna need to move this, or if it breaks or there's a water leak, so that the homeowner is not surprised.
Right.
I apologize. I'm still looking up this Florida House Bill 1541. It's making me crazy.
All right. I happen to look on Google Gemini, so maybe it's a commercial for them, or maybe not so much. But it does a quick scan of the internet, and I asked it. I said, "Did something pass in the state of Florida that changes in the 2025 year changes roof surface schedule allotments and Florida policies?"
So, but when you read the basic summary, then the AI summary on this website, it says the bill is set to take effect on July 1. Well, if it passed, it would have taken effect on July 1. But then you go down, or farther up, I should say, and it says introduced in committee dead 6/16/2025. But if you just read the statute itself, it absolutely says it takes effect on July 1, because that's what the bill said.
Right.
But the bill never passed. So we need to figure that out, because
So again, it's dead again. It was alive and now it's dead.
5%. Yeah, because the last line of that says the bill is set to take effect on July 1. Again, that is what the bill said.
I am going to call it a liar. I heard you lied. Well, let's
Okay,
until
sorry.
I get out of
Rick, I'm
this
sorry.
fight with
I don't
AI, we'll take this offline. But that was a concern, and so there are some shady things that happen during sessions, things that we won't hear of until the last minute. We almost got a snafu with the phosphate mining bill.
Yes.
That's where the House didn't get any movement on the attorney fee bill, which was loser pays.
From the Senate.
Right.
Yes.
At all. And it passed every committee in the House, and then the Senate didn't do anything. They were the ones the Senate was the one that got called out by Trump's campaign and says that DeSantis' lackeys are still doing his bidding by not moving the insurance bills through. And so when we need it so, and if you look at all the companies that done more than 50% of all claims filed by these two recent storms, because they can. And what's interesting to hear, the facts behind that, is that out of every client that they deny a claim for, only 30% do something. 70% does nothing whenever they get a denial. That's crazy. That's some crazy numbers. It's like you ask an insurance company, how do you make more money? It's easy. Deny more claims.
Well, you think about it. If 70%, this is something you pay for. It's not like it's not like you're going, hey, look, I'm begging for some money to fix my roof because I don't have the money. You paid a premium that's probably almost as much as your mortgage for some folks, or more so for some people, for a service to be provided to you if something happens, and people are terrified to go use it at all.
Right. And they finally get the courage because they have to, and they file a claim just to be a number that they were told by some executive up there. We got to hit our numbers, and we have to deny this many claims.
Yeah, and it gets denied. People go, well, we tried. I'm like, well, you tried, but I mean, a little bit. I mean, but you didn't question the decision potentially. You didn't ask them to send out a reinspection. Didn't ask them for a copy of the report. Didn't ask them for a variety of things. And then when you don't get anything back, if that was a normal situation, if you said to your employee, because remember, their insurance company works for you, right? You pay them for the service. And I mean, if you say, if I told my employee, hey, I need you to go do this, and they went, no, we're not going to do that. I mean, you'd fire them, you do whatever. But with the insurance company, you go, oh, okay.
Right.
Then you shrink back to the wall,
And oh, by the way, it's the new year, new policy premium is due. And oh, by the way, we have an increase.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, we're going to non-renew you next year because your roof's in bad shape.
Right. Now, it's good enough to take your money. Right. But not good enough to pay a claim on.
Right. I just had somebody, a friend of a friend, just was talking about switching insurance. And they have an older roof, and they're like, yeah, I just got a letter from my insurance company after a major hailstorm. Just got a letter from an insurance company said that they're going to non-renew him due to the age and condition of his roof. So I scratched my head. I was like, all right, well, so I recommended one of my roof buddies to go over there and check it out. He sent me his company cam link, and his roof is just beat up to crap with hail. And I'm just like, oh man. And that was from that recent hailstorm that just happened. So sometimes it happens, and you hear about that where they'll deny a claim based off of wear and tear or some other construction defect or something like that, and then a few months later give the homeowner a letter to say, hey, we're not going to renew you based off of your roof condition.
Well, it's funny too, and people think that if they don't make a claim, they'll sneak by underwriting. They'll be like, if I don't make a claim on my old roof, even though it has problems from hail or wind, whatever it may be, if I don't make a claim, maybe I'll be lucky and they'll just keep taking my money.
Oh, God.
Again, the mindset of folks with insurance. Again, no one's telling you to use it if you don't need it, right? No one's going to sit around and go, yeah, just keep making claims whether you need it or not. But if you have a claim that needs to be made, then you should make it.
That's right.
Again, and people get overzealous with it. I mean, I have clients come in and they have 4 prior claims. I'm like, I can't help you with that. You have to have a little bit of discretion when you do this.
Right. Well, and if you do, fix the stuff that you were paid for.
Right.
So if that happens again, you've got record of you actually replacing that. And sometimes lightning strikes more than once, and it's just unfortunate.
And there's certain areas we find in Florida, especially hail tends to travel. We find in Florida, comes in around Melbourne, tends to go up through Ocala, and then go back out the coast. It just that's where the weather travels. Port St. Lucie. Has a lot of bad weather, has a lot of hail activity, right? That Melbourne from like Brevard County, it goes that south to Martin County or St. Lucie County. A lot of that type of activity.
I remember when I went to Colorado for a few weeks checking out the business landscape there. There were this one guy, he worked for ServPro, and he said he lived in this area of town. He told me where it was, somewhere on the west side of Denver. And he moved in. He loved the house and everything until he got hit with a big hailstorm. And he had the bundle, maybe he had flow or something like that, with the vehicle insurance and the house insurance. And both of them got beat up. He got them both fixed, got his roof, exterior stuff, got his car done. 11 months later, another storm comes by, beats up everything again. He files a claim, gets it paid for, and then moves. Sold his house. He said, screw this, I can't do it. Again, where he works at, he just feels bad. It's like me, I feel bad. I don't want to file a claim. It's like, we talk about this all the time. We don't want to go through the process. Nobody wants to go through the process at all, period. As a consumer, it's very difficult to go through it. You don't know who to call, what to do, and those types of things. And so, and now it's even more and more important, if you do have an insurance claim in property, that you hire a public adjuster or an attorney almost right off rip to ensure that you're getting treated fairly by the insurance company and getting every penny that you're owed. So we go off at tangents a lot here, Rick.
Hey, man, that's great. This is awesome being here, man.
And then and quickly, I did promise the group here a way to get a hold of you. What's the best way to get a hold of you? Phone number, website, email address, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, I am Rick Hall with GroundUp Property Services, 407-468-4295. GroundUpInc.net is our website.
Awesome. Yeah, let's roll through that one more time.
407-468-4295 is our office line, and GroundUpInc.net is our website. Our website goes through all of our programs and services that we offer.
GroundUp47 at gmail.com is a way to get a hold of you as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. All right. With our guest today, Rick Hall, we're going to take a break, give some thanks to our sponsors. We'll be right back for our last segment of our show, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. We'll be right back. All right. We're back live on 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial, The Answer here in Central Florida. And so if you're just now hearing this on streaming and you're in Central Florida and you're like, you know what, I want to listen to these guys live. I want to call in. I want to heckle them. By the way, I'm horrible at giving out the call-in number. If you have a question for the show while you're here or during 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Monday night, you can call and you can heckle us live right here, 407-774-8255. That's 407-774-8255. That calls the radio station here, so you can call and heckle us, or maybe the show after. I mean, who knows? Who knows what's playing? But again, if you're just catching us on streaming, we're on 94.9 FM here in the Orlando area called The Answer. And so vice versa, if you're listening to us, if you're just kind of coming through the Central Florida area and you want to hear the entire show or go back and hear different shows, Spotify is the easiest way, or iTunes. Check us out. Different show opportunities, different guests, and you can search around there to find out the show that you want to listen to. If there's a certain trade, a certain person you want to listen to, hear a little bit more of, air conditioning, roofing, plumbing, all the different trades, lawyering, those types of things on different scenarios, then check out the different ways to hear us on streaming. And of course, if you're a visual person, YouTube, if you have the big screen TV, watching us on a 75-inch television would just be amazing, Hans. Telling you.
It would be great. Actually, we're so popular. Actually, we had two folks on the show a couple months ago, and that the owner of the business thought it was so cool. He plays it all day long in the lobby of their office.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
It's his two guys and Rich and I. So we went down to meet with them, and we're like, "Hi, we're the guy on your TV."
Right. They're like, hey, wait, do we? You look familiar. Like, yeah, we're right there. It's just looping over and over again. It was great. It's so cool to have the guest here and to learn more about their business. And we learn every time a little bit more about what it takes to do what they do and really help connect the dots between local businesses and consumers here in the Central Florida area.
Well, what I always find from talking to guys in the trades, and I'm pretty handy for being a lawyer, but I'm always amazed at how hard the work is. Like, and not even physically or whatever, electricians, plumbing, even irrigation. I mean, you got to figure out, there's a lot goes on. I mean, that's like a whole city of pipes and valves and solenoids and water sources and timers. And
with no plans.
Right.
No plans.
You just got to go out and
No plans.
go out and figure it out. You got to bury it. You got to make it pop up. And we got to do this. It sprays. You got to adjust the rotor part, and they got a little. The guy comes around. He's got the little screwdriver, and he's turning stuff. I mean, it's an amazing amount of planning work, preparation, and then installation, because everything around here would be brown, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's just your lawn, my lawn, they'd all be gone without irrigation. And it's one of those. It's like an unsung hero of your curb appeal. Is the fact that
really is.
if it didn't work, like I come out once in a while, like you have a brown spot, like something will go wrong with the head, you won't know. It takes a few days, and all of a sudden you come out and you go, oh. And I'm so offended. Oh, do we have a caller?
Is there a real heckler on the phone there? Because I was totally kidding, but he's going to definitely handle the heckler there behind
okay.
behind
That's
the
fine.
cage
I was
there.
just checking. But
That's
no,
good.
I mean the irrigation stuff. We talked to these all the trade guys, and man, everything's involved. I mean, nothing's like, yeah, we go and we do this and we leave. Everyone's like, no, it's a huge amount of work. We got to, especially working outside, like, trenching.
Oh, the
digging.
heat's hot. Yes.
Right.
It's hot.
It
man.
is. And so let me ask you this: the best time of day for watering, because everybody does it overnight, right? So, but there is something about like soaking the roots and almost like too much fungus by letting them sit too long. So you don't want to water your lawn at 11 o'clock at night or midnight, so it sits there more or less right before sunrise is what I've heard. Is that a correct depiction?
Well, first of all, every yard is different. Every soil type is different. You have sandy soils that drain fast. You have homes that are built on fill and stuff, which is almost like a clay, and they hold, it holds water. Every zone is a different water time.
So there really is an art to that, right? I mean,
yes.
Give me something, Rick.
Yeah, because you can overwater and then you can underwater.
You can overwater very easily, which causes your fungus and
soft roots that make them susceptible for bugs and stuff,
diseases and all that kind of stuff. Going through the drought, your only time to water is at midnight. Mm-hmm. All right, they've been regulating the reclaimed water. All right, Seminole County was running out of reclaimed water. Sanford was running out. Oviedo, everybody's running out of water. Our water shortage here in Florida is incredible. And when you think that one irrigation rotor puts out 3.5 gallons a minute, and you're running that zone, you have 6 heads, and you're running that zone for an hour, that's a lot of water.
Yeah, that's a lot of water for sure.
Okay, and stuff like that. So that's why you want somebody that knows what they're doing to go out, assess, and make sure that the grass is getting the right amount of water that it needs, the plants get the right amount of water that it needs. But then as we start heading into the cooler months, yes, you're not going to water for an hour a zone. You're going to water for maybe 20 minutes, right? And you're going to do it earlier in the morning so that it doesn't sit when it's 45 degrees outside. That water's not going to evaporate. But I could water my yard today and tomorrow my soil is going to be dry. Okay, so I want to water longer, so I'm going to set my timer to come on my water day. At midnight, I'm going to water for an hour to an hour and a half, all right, to make sure I get, a good 1/2 to 3/4 inch of water on the ground. Okay. But by the afternoon on the same day, most of it's going to be gone because that sun is just going to beat it.
So you still are recommending, like, depending on the soil type or the grass style or whichever, grass type rather, like the timing in which you were, would it be closer to the midnight or would it be closer to sunrise? And tell me the reasons why here.
Well, see, the thing is we're only allowed to water. All right. We're not allowed to water between 10 and 4. All right.
Right.
So
10 a.m. and 4 p.m. It's
there's
prohibited.
no water.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's the hottest part of the day. It'll
That's the
evaporate too quick.
Just like that. Yes.
Right. Okay.
All right. So if you have a good working irrigation system, all right, you're going to run your zones for 5 or 6 hours. I would always have it off before 6 a.m. Most people jump in their showers, houses get going early in the morning. So if you have your irrigation system running off your house water, okay, they're going to hop in the shower or whatever, and it's going to trickle out, and they're going to wonder why.
Right.
I get you,
So
because if I have
there's
6 zones and each one is running for
That's 6 hours.
right. I don't run my zones for an hour each, but maybe 20 or 30 minutes, but because it's a little bit smaller of a yard, so people with bigger yards maybe.
Every yard is different, and then that also takes a
but
play.
still, but you're right though. I mean, the timing works out. Let's say even if I did 30 minutes of zone, I got 6. It's 3 hours, so you still got to start it to where it ends before you walk out and get sprayed. Right. You're heading out for work early. Right?
Yeah, and also, I mean, if you have a working rain sensor, all right, and it pours down rain the night before, that's going to prevent the system from coming on that night. So that's going to help you with overwatering. That's going to help you with your funguses and all that kind of stuff.
Nice. Now, outside of the maintenance that you provide and you recommend twice a year, unless you have a complicated and very involved yard, that would be more on a quarterly basis for the maintenance check. Do you do installs? So if somebody called you and said,
I do not do any more installs anymore.
wow, he's like the hole in the wall drywall guy. It's a very small niche specialty, and that's awesome.
So we have a couple other programs. So one of my programs is an orientation program. So we have a lot of people that move down from up north that have no idea what grass is, how the irrigation systems work.
Snowbird special.
Okay. Or they've been in apartments their whole life and now they bought a house and they got their first water bill and it's $400 and they're like, I don't even know how to turn this thing on or anything else like that. So that's one aspect of the industry that
I'm not even taking showers. How is the water?
I've stopped bathing.
Yeah, just to water your grass. Then something else that we also have put together is an inspection program that we try to work with home inspectors. All right, we try to work with realtors to become part of the process when somebody's buying a house. Mm-hmm. Most home inspectors don't do a comprehensive irrigation. They just, it's on or off. They don't check the wells. They don't check,
Turns on.
broken head.
Water's wet. Okay.
It's working. Right. And that's usually what it is. They don't check for rain sensors. Okay, and all that. So we tried to team up so when somebody's buying the biggest investment of their life, that they know everything, just like you would want to know, how is my septic tank or how is my swimming pool? Okay, how's my shallow well pump? Is it pulling air? Am I going to have to put a pump in a year? That's $1,000 or it's just your cost adds up when you're buying a house.
Are you inspecting them or are you actually putting in the well pumps and stuff?
We do some replacements and stuff. I do have a actual licensed electrician that does a lot of that stuff for me. Most especially as we start getting pumps down by water and things like that, because all that stuff's got to be watertight. This past hurricane season, I had several clients that all of their well stuff was underwater in their lake. Okay, because it sits on the ground. That lake came up so many feet, and all that stuff submerged.
Yeah.
So I always pass it on just to make sure, because we're dealing with power, and water. So I mean, it's got to be done right.
Right. And that's great, man. I'm glad you have a very keened in, honed in specialty niche there in the irrigation maintenance. And you have a program for residential folks and also commercial. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
GroundUp47@gmail.com is how you get a hold of Rick Hall here with GroundUp. And I think that's great. Like I said, I've never heard of just that specific specialty, but not too many people are good at it. And I, being the king of what I thought would be in a specialty niche within insurance inspections and what I perform. And so I think that's great that you perform just the maintenance specialty or the irrigation maintenance as a specialty. I think that's great. You do one thing very, very well, and you can absolutely have a successful business off of it. That's great. And so the perfect customer for you would be what?
Well, pretty much anybody that has an irrigation system, all right, and stuff.
And a checkbook.
And a
Credit card.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our clients are in HOAs where they're regulated. All right, they have to have that nice yard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a good point. And if you can come out quick, because I know I get the heat. It's like you have 7 days or 10 days to respond, and of course you don't get it for like 5 days because the mail takes forever. So then you got 1 day to react. It feels like, So, yeah. But that's a great point. If you're in an HOA, you're in a place in which you need to have a great looking yard. The curb appeal has to be fantastic.
Yep.
Make sure you call Rick Hall at GroundUp. GroundUp47@gmail. And what's the website again?
GroundUpInc.net.
There it is, GroundUpInc.net. Gotta love it. And Hans, thank you again for being the fearless co-host here. And also, how do we get a hold of you?
Sure, 407-782-0258. 407-782-0258 is my cell phone. Feel free to call or text.
There you go. All right, guys, we'll talk to you next week. See ya.